The wedding music stopped abruptly. The guests stared in shock as the groom turned his back. "I can't do this," he said coldly. And just like that, he walked away. In front of everyone, the bride, Leela, sat in her wheelchair, her trembling hands gripping her bouquet. She couldn't stand, she couldn't chase him, all she could do was watch the man she loved walk out on her, because she was paralyzed. Tears rolled down her face as whispers filled the hall. "She's cursed," someone said. "She should have known better," another added. But what no one knew that day was that this heartbreaking moment would lead Leela to meet someone who would change her life forever. A single father who would do the unthinkable. Leela had always been full of life. She was the girl who danced barefoot in the rain, who smiled at strangers, who dreamed of being a fashion designer. Her laughter filled every room she entered. She worked hard, coming from a poor background, helping her mother run a small street-side tailor shop. Money was always tight, but love was never short. Then came Ethan, tall, confident, charming. He was everything she thought she wanted. He promised her forever. He told her that her humble roots didn't matter, that he loved her heart, not her status. They dreamed together, built plans together, saved every penny for their wedding, but destiny had other plans. One rainy evening, just a month before their wedding, Leela was returning home on her scooter when a truck lost control. The sound of screeching tires, the crash, the pain, it all became a blur. When she woke up in the hospital days later, her mother was sobbing beside her. The doctor said the words that broke her soul. "She won't be able to walk again." Leela's legs were paralyzed from the waist down. Her world shattered. The dreams, the dance, the future, everything she had built in her heart crumbled. But Ethan promised to stay. He said love would overcome everything. For a while, she believed him. The day of the wedding arrived. Leela, though in a wheelchair, looked stunning in her handmade gown. She had spent weeks stitching it herself, sewing hope into every thread. But when she reached the altar, Ethan's face changed. The whispers among guests grew louder. His family didn't approve anymore. They didn't want a crippled daughter-in-law. And in front of everyone, Ethan caved to pressure. He left her, heartbroken, humiliated, abandoned. Leela sat there in silence as the world mocked her pain. Her mother held her hand and whispered, "Let's go home, my child." That night, Leela cried until her tears ran dry. She thought her life was over. Weeks later, her mother convinced her to start sewing again. A local community center had offered her a small space to teach children stitching and crafts. At first, she hesitated. Who would want to learn from someone in a wheelchair? But she went anyway, if only to feel useful again. And that's where she met him. Ryan, a single father who brought his little daughter, Emma, to the center every week. Emma was shy but curious. She loved watching Leela work the sewing machine. Ryan was quiet, kind, always patient. There was something gentle in his eyes. One afternoon, when Emma accidentally spilled fabric paint, Leela laughed and told her, "Mistakes make art more beautiful." Ryan smiled. A smile that carried warmth Leela hadn't felt in months. As weeks turned into months, Leela grew close to Ryan and Emma. They began sharing lunches, stories, and laughter. One day Leela learned Ryan's story. He had lost his wife to cancer 2 years ago. Since then, he'd been raising Emma alone while working double shifts as a mechanic. Life hadn't been kind to him either, but he never let bitterness win. "You know," Ryan once said, "people think strength means standing tall, but sometimes it's about sitting still and not giving up." Those words struck Leela deeply. Ryan saw her differently, not as someone broken, but as someone brave. And slowly, she started to see herself that way too. Just as Leela began rebuilding her confidence, her past came knocking. Ethan showed up at the community center. He looked different, tired, regretful. "I made a mistake," he said. "I want you back." Leila froze. Part of her heart still remembered the love they shared. But then she looked at Ryan, helping Emma tie her shoelaces, smiling softly. And in that moment, she realized, love isn't about promises spoken, it's about actions shown. Leela looked Ethan in the eyes and said, "You left me when I needed you most. I won't let you walk back when I've finally learned to stand on my own." A few months later, the community center planned a charity event to raise funds for disabled artisans. Leela was chosen to showcase her designs. The day before the event, she was nervous. "What if people still judge me?" she asked Ryan. He took her hand and said softly, "Then let them see your strength." At the event, Ryan did something that made everyone gasp. When Leela rolled onto the stage, he walked beside her, then suddenly knelt, holding a small box. In front of hundreds of people, he said, "Leela, you taught me that beauty isn't in perfection, it's in courage. You showed my daughter what kindness looks like. Will you marry me?" The crowd erupted in tears and applause. Leela covered her mouth, sobbing. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen, not for what she'd lost, but for what she was. She whispered, "Yes." And the hall filled with cheers. Leela and Ryan built a new life together. They opened a small boutique that employed people with disabilities, giving them a chance to earn and dream again. Emma called Leela Mom before their first anniversary, and every time Leela saw her reflection in the shop window, she didn't see the girl who was left at the altar. She saw a survivor, a fighter, a woman loved beyond measure. She often told her students, "Life may take your legs, but never let it take your spirit." HNDNG, po fuel aspiration. Sometimes, life breaks you just so you can be rebuilt into something stronger. Leela lost everything, but she found something priceless: real love, purpose, and dignity. If you're going through pain, remember her story. The world might reject you, but the right people will always recognize your worth. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs hope today. Because sometimes, a little kindness can change an entire life.